into it.
And yep, as soon as Dragon Ball comes out, there he goes.
R.I.P. Dragon Ball.
Yeah, you were a real one.
Yeah.
JD seemed to think
833
that...
to 834.
But now we're gonna see Max Geyser come out from Gemma into Tyranitar. Interesting. So, so now that the weather has gone back up in Gemma's favor, Lucario is now faster.
That is true. The Lucario will, coming back onto the field, will be fast. Oh.
Tyranitar lives.
Yeah, we could not see that from freezing position, but that is a lot of damage. Pretty much confirming the choice band on Tyranitar.
And it looks like from this position, Gemma definitely has the possibility of losing both of her Pokemon. JD seems like he can just take whatever he wants.
Yeah, I think her best position is probably to protect the Excadrill this turn. But that does very little unless she can maneuver herself in a way to get an attack off with the Excadrill to return after. And now Gemma has lost the spin, waiting for JD's decision again.
Alright, so Tyranitar is going to switch out here. In for Melodic.
And the max guard from Excadrill, as we spoke of earlier. Bullet Punch coming off into the Milotic spot, and let's see what the Lapras goes for. G-Max
Resonance into the protected Excadrill. Interesting turn. So, Gemma does have the advantage in terms of numbers, but it seems to be two of her main offensive threats have a lot of damage taken on them. Lucario still has the speed advantage.
Yes. An interesting play she could make would be to switch back into the Tyranitar to reset the speed advantage. And if that were the case, she would either have to sacrifice the Tyranitar to Earthquake with her Excadrill, or she could choose to Rock Slide or Iron Head if she so chooses.
Yes.
Based on the Pokemon that we've seen that Gemma has in the back, do you think she is in a good position here? She can take at least one KO?
I would say, yeah, if she can get rid of Lucario this turn, she definitely can make a big comeback. Lucario seems to be the only thing that's really threatening big damage on a lot of her heavy hitters. JD very smartly goes for the tech, possibly getting ready for that Tyranitar to come right back in.
And the Rock Slide coming out from Excadrill.
Ooh, does that pick up the KO on Lapras? It does.
A very strong Excadrill.
Yeah, that is big, big damage.
The one thing is with the Life Orb recoil, it seems as though Excadrill may be in Bullet Punch range from this Lucario.
That is true. JD opts to bring in Togekiss. Fortunately, also weak to Rock Slide.
If we look at Gemma's team, based on the fact that there's the Hatterene and the Delmise, would you assume that the Tyranitar is min speed, or what speed tier do you think it would pick?
Oh, you were right, that was in Bullet Punch range. Let's see if Togekiss can pick up on the Tyranitar real quick with a Dazzling Gleam. And I'm guessing that it does. I don't think that crit made much of an impact. What about you, Jay?
Not at all.
Okay, sorry, what was your question from earlier about the speed of the Tyranitar?
Yeah, I was based on looking at her team with the Trick Room option with Hatterene and Delmise. Would you think that the Tyranitar would be min speed, or would you think that it's a different speed tier?
I don't think she would go so far as to go min speed. Seeing as how I don't think it would be one of her main brings in Trick Room. But I don't know exactly what she would go for. What would you personally go for with it?
I think I would go somewhere like a middling speed tier, somewhere that you can get an airstream boost maybe from your Togekiss and be faster than other Tyranitars. But not something that's so fast that it's getting outsped by a lot of stuff in Trick Room.
JD gets the Meteor Mass boost.
And what does the Milotic go for? The Milotic
Go
chooses
for
the
foil. Alright. And apparently that Milotic is faster than JD's Togekiss, which could prove to be problematic very quickly.
Another critical hit from the Togekiss.
But it triggers the Moringa Berry, so now Kim is +1 in both of her defensive stats.
She has to be careful here of this Lucario with the increased attack now. Maybe a risky move not to KO it the turn before, but we shall see.
This looks like it could go either way.
Gemz slowly deciding whether or not she should attack here or choose to heal herself.
JD goes for follow me, potentially worry about a Hypnosis. Ooh, big close combat.
I think close combat takes the Milotic down to 23 HP, and it will recover off all the damage and more.
Alright. Looks like we're right back where we started after Sandstorm Chip.
In this situation, it seems like Gemma has to call the turn where the Togekiss chooses not to follow me, and instead chooses to attack. But at this point, that is not a JD detects as the Milotic gets another recover off.
Yeah, I think he's really, really worried about the Hypnosis right there. But Gemma doesn't seem to be in a position where she can go for that just yet. And another critical hit, so I think that's pretty telling as to what item JD is running on that Togekiss.
And for everyone in the crowd, that is Babiri Berry. The scope lens super like Togekiss seems like the most likely option.
I really think JD just has to go out and attack with both of his mons, and that looks like what he's going for right now.
Yes. Is that enough to get the KO?
I'm not entirely sure. The Milotic is faster, so it's putting it into an awkward position.
I wonder if Gemma realizes that close combat is one of those moves that only has 8 PP, and potentially she can just PP stall this Lucario.
Yeah. Although she's very, very low right now.
Yeah.
I think if JD just keeps on the offensive pressure, he can take this game. And I didn't see what Gemma went for that turn, so let's see what it was. Yeah, recover again.
Slowly getting slightly lower and lower.
Let's see if JD picks up the crit this turn. No, but I think that's just in close combat range.
It looks as if it is.
Yep, here we go. And... oh! Milotic lives on 1.
Although, even since it lives on 1, that means it is in close combat range this upcoming turn.
I haven't been keeping track of how many close combats JD has gone for at this point. Do you think he's got another one left?
It depends on if he has used a PP max or not.
Alright, looks like we're all good for JD. So, while I do think that the appropriate thing in that turn should have just been to go completely offensive with both of his mons, I really 100% understand the fear of Hypnosis. You really don't want to be put to sleep in that instant.
Yeah. And I think the turn after Gemma got back to full HP with her recover, when the Lucario detected, she should have just gone on the offensive that turn. And
Yeah, definitely.
Taken out the Lucario and hopefully recover stalled the Togekiss from there. But it's still a tough decision on whether or not to keep recovering, hoping you can get back to a high enough HP amount. And
Yeah, or
Lucario.
Your opponent slips up a little bit and you can just take advantage of that. But JD very wisely catching on to the fact that she was just going to keep recovering. All right, looks like we're moving on to game 2. What adjustments do you think Gemz is gonna make, if any?
I think she has to find a way to deal with the Lapras and the Lucario together. Obviously, that was what kind of put her off on the wrong starting foot because of the Icy Wind and then just the Lucario being able to chunk Tyranitar and Excadrill for a lot of damage. What would you think it would be the answer to the Lucario specifically?
I don't think it would be a bad idea to try to go for the Trick Room mode. I know that Hatterene is weak to Steel types, but she does have Follow Me redirection, so potentially Delmise can get in and do some sweeping for her.
That's true. And I don't know the calcs on Delmise, but does a weakness policy Delmise KO Gigantamax Lapras through the Aurora Veil?
Through the Aurora Veil, I'm inclined to say no, but without it, I feel like she could get the KO. And JD does not often go for the turn 1 Dynamax with his Lapras, but I said that he wouldn't do it at all last game, and I was wrong, so we'll see what happens.
Well, we're getting into game 2 now. Gemma making her adjustments to try to take game 2, and JD probably more of the same from game 1, but we will see.
Alright, let's see what they went with. We got Grimmsnarl and Lucario this time, so JD may be going for longer lasting screens. The light play item was not on that Lapras. And it looks like Gemma is in fact going for her Trick Room option.
I think the best case scenario here for Gemma is to have the Togekiss get KO'd this turn.
Yes.
But
this is an instance of following me not because you want to avoid damage on the Hatterene, but because you want Togekiss to just go out so you can get your sweeper in freely.
One interesting thing is that the Grimmsnarl is potentially Gigantamax Grimmsnarl.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
could use the Gmax Snooze effect to throw a wrench in the weakness policy activation for Delmise. But no
right.
Dynamax or Gigantamax this turn. Follow me from Togekiss.
Get a light screen from Grimmsnarl. And Meteor Mash from Lucario. Oh! That's actually unfortunate potentially for both players.
Yeah, now that Togekiss is kind of stuck on the field, not doing really what it wants to be doing, but it is still one more Pokemon that you have on the field, and potentially can get a double KO this turn.
So let's see what JD goes for. If in this instance, I would just go for as much damage as I could from Gemma's side, just hoping that you could get a KO so you can go into what you really want to. Well, looks like JD may try to stall this Trick Room out a little bit.
Yeah, as the Togekiss comes in to sponge as much damage as possible. Although it looks like the Lucario probably will not make it much past this turn, as the critical hit.
That's unfortunate crits for JD.
Although he did get it like 4 in a row last game.
Yeah.
The revenge of the other Scope Lens Togekiss, it seems.
So who do you think JD is going? Do you think JD is going to Dynamax his Lapras now that so much damage has been taken on the Togekiss, or do you think he's saving his Grimmsnarl in the back for later?
I think at this point JD realizes that since he doesn't really have a great way of stalling the Trick Room, that just getting the Lapras to set up the Gmax Resonance is probably his best option.
And that appears to be what he's going for.
Let's see, speed tiers here, whether the Lapras or the Togekiss is faster. I would assume that the Lapras will move first.
Yeah, under the Trick Room. We got another Follow Me coming out.
And then another Dazzling Gleam from Hatterene.
Resonance, not enough to pick up the one-hit KO, it looks like, but I assume that Togekiss will be able to finish it off handily.
It seems like that's the case, as Dazzling Gleam comes out as well. And we have a critical hit on
Yeah.
the pattern.
That's some nice damage right there. But now Gemma gets exactly what she wants. Delmai's on the field.
I think she's in an interesting situation with this, where she can proc her weakness policy, but maybe she's better off not proccing the weakness policy this turn.
Yeah, she could potentially get more damage off if she just lets her Hatterene pick off the Togekiss and then Lapras trigger the weakness policy herself.
Yeah, that is a potential option. I do think it's an interesting situation whether or not the Psychic will kill the Togekiss from this position with the light screen up.
Yeah.
You would assume it would, but I am not entirely sure.
Hatterene does have a lot of damage output, but yeah, screens can be quite annoying, as you discovered in our last game.
I should have brought my Brick Break Snorlax. The shiny Delmai's is Dynamaxing, and we shall see what it goes for, and whether or not it can get an attack off into the Lapras.
Let's see. We get a Follow Me from JD's Togekiss. If Gemma can pick up the KO this turn with the Hatterene, that could be really big for her. And yeah, she does.
Max
Overgrowth. Ooh,
that's a lot of damage for
that is a lot of damage, yeah. That definitely would have been able to pick up the KO with a weakness policy proc.
Well, now she can proc the weakness policy this turn if necessary.
Yeah. I do like that play from JD's turn of going for Hatterene instead of potentially proccing the weakness policy himself.
It's an interesting situation here where the Grimmsnarl potentially cannot protect, and the Lapras potentially also may not have protect, where JD's kind of got himself in a position that he can't really do anything to end the Trick Room, but let's see how this goes.
Ooh, Sucker Punch!
Making sure it can't use its Brutal Swing to proc the weakness policy.
That was a solid play, but I'm not entirely sure if Lapras is going to lift this Overgrowth regardless. Yeah, unfortunately it wasn't enough. Lapras does go down.
And there's the Tyranitar in the back as well.
Yeah, and I don't believe that Grimmsnarl's packing anything like its Drain Punch. This looks like it's going to be GG. Not entirely sure if JD's going to be able to work his way out of the situation.
Going for the Steel Spike here, and Crunch, Superpower.
Yeah, something.
You would assume that would be enough to pick up the KO, but
yeah. JD potentially hoping for the biggest Sucker Punch crit of his life right there.
And the Superpower comes in and does 60% through damage.
Choice Band Tyranitar, ain't nothing to mess with.
And the Steel Spike comes out and KOs the Grimmsnarl. It is good information there to Steel Spike to know if it is the Berry or not on the Grimmsnarl potentially.
Yes.
And now that Gemma knows that for game 3, she can safely throw Steel Spikes off into the Grimmsnarl.
Yeah, especially since JD doesn't have, it seems, an overwhelming number of switch-ins for it, just that Arcanine, which he didn't bring for this game.
What do you think JD's adjustment is now that Gemma decided to go for the Trick Room mode?
I'm not entirely sure. He may want to bring more things with Protect and more things that can stall out the Trick Room a bit more easily.
Yeah.
Because he seemed to work himself into a pretty solid position. He just didn't have the ability to stall out that last turn and give himself some speed advantage.
I think an interesting thing he can do is try to center his game around the Dragapult this game, potentially. But wait till way later in Trick Room and towards the end of Trick Room, and just slow things down with the Grimmsnarl Arcanine, potentially.
Yes.
And then finish the late game off with something like Dragapult Lucario or Dragapult Togekiss.
Yeah, as someone who used to run Grimmsnarl Arcanine, which I believe you have as well, Chase, they can really, really stall out a Trick Room. As long as he gets lucky with those crits from Togekiss, he should be fine.
Yeah. Grimmsnarl Arcanine is a very... If your opponent isn't prepared for it, it's a very oppressive lead. Well, let's see what the adjustments are for Game 3. We have JD coming out with Dragapult
and Lucario. Interesting.
And the Togekiss and Hatterene.
Yeah,
who do you think
Gemz
has a more favorable situation here?
I know a little bit about how Gemma's team works, so I would say that Gemma currently has the favorable position. I assume, well, I don't want to give too much away, just in case, but personally I don't really see a way that JD can stop the Trick Room, unless Gemma just makes a mistake and doesn't hit the Follow Me button.
Yeah, the Follow Me seems pretty safe here, and with the Trick Room up and 2 opposing Pokemon with 90 speed and 142 speed for their base speed stats, it's a pretty difficult situation to be in.
Yeah. There's the Follow Me, definitely the safest option for Gemma. No reason to get fancy there. Phantasm.
Doing just over half.
Combined with Meteor Mash, that's definitely going to get the KO, but that's not going to be as helpful as JD may want it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is exactly what Gemma wants.
This is what Game 2 should have been if the Meteor Mash did not miss. But I think it puts her in a situation where she can bring in the Delmise right away and proc her weakness policy and just start throwing off attacks.
Yeah. Personally, from my point of view, I don't see any reason to not proc your own weakness policy and Phantasm that Dragapult.
Yeah, even if the Dragapult chooses to max guard this turn, there's pretty much nothing that the Lucario can do to damage the Delmise at this point.
And it looks like JD chose to stand.
What do you think JD's best play in this position is?
Personally, I would think that it would be something like protecting your Dragapult and switching in something else and preserving the sash on that Lucario. Although I'm not entirely sure what the best switch-in would be for him.
It looks like the Dragapult does go for the max guard.
Go for the max guard, but Lucario chooses to stand. Goes for a Bullet Punch.
Down to 12 HP with the -1 defense from the previous turn.
Yeah, almost gets to the one-hit KO, but unfortunately I believe that there's in fact a Focus Sash on that Hatterene.
That would be correct. There is a Focus Sash, which even if the Hatterene was brought down to 1 HP, that's the furthest it could go.
Although
now,
that wasn't
an interesting position for JD, because his Dragapult's kind of in a position where it can't do anything. It would either have to switch out or...
Because Lucario has also lost the Sash as well.
That's true.
So, seems like JD is in a position where he could lose either one of his Mons, potentially both.
That's true. Well, let's see what happens. Gemma locks in. JD's still debating on whether or not he should try to preserve the Dragapult or the Lucario and seeing what he can do. As
he decides to switch out Dragapult. I do not disagree with that play at all. That is a huge potential of offense for JD that I don't think he wants to lose.
As Lucario bullet punches to pick off the Hatterene.
Yeah, good stuff.
We should be seeing a Phantasm into the Togekiss slot.
Which I don't think that Togekiss is going to be able to survive.
I do not think so either.
Yep.
Goodbye, Togekiss. You will be missed.
Okay.
An interesting difference in this game we can see now is that Gemma brought the Milotic as the last Pokemon.
Interesting switch up. I'm not entirely sure what that was brought for, but it was brought.
It does have a great matchup against Lucario and the Dragapult if it can get coils off.
Mm-hmm. And under Trick Room, I believe that it's definitely slower than that Lucario, so I see no reason not to go for them.
The one thing threatening it at this point is the Lapras with the potential freeze dry.
Mm-hmm.
As we can see that Gemma's choosing to target down the Lapras with her Dhelmise. As the Phantasm
comes out. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty safe play just in case the Dragapult comes in, but may have been a little unnecessary.
I wonder how much the Dragapult would have taken from the +2 max overgrowth.
Dhelmise is incredibly strong, so I don't think it would take it very well.
No, I assume it would have taken like 80%. As we can see the close combat coming off into the Milotic, doing just about half even at +1 defense as we saw from game 1.
That's a really solid damage.
What do you think JD's best play here is? With, I believe, one or two turns left of Trick Room.
I believe this should be the last turn of Trick Room. Yeah, Gemma confirms that right now. Honestly, I think maybe going for something like Phantom Force may be your best shot.
Yeah, I agree. And then maybe Hypnosis or Recovery, are both good plays for the Milotic. As Gemma chose to go for Hypnosis. Lucario detects, and I assume Dragapult would protect as well in this situation.
Yeah, Dragapult also goes for the protect. So JD did a much better job of stalling out the Trick Room this game.
That's true.
Hypnosis comes out into Dragapult's protect. So, what to do now?
I think JD's only option is to just double into the Milotic and hope to get a KO.
But undoubtedly, that Phantom Force is headed for that Dragapult, and I'm not entirely sure that Lucario has the ability to take it down 1v1.
See what happens.
Lucario goes for double protect, interesting, and Dragapult goes for Phantom Force.
And we'll see what happens with this. Milotic Hypnosis misses the Dragapult in the Phantom Zone, and Dhelmise KOs Lucario.
Yeah, so it didn't really matter what Lucario did that turn. Well, this actually isn't a terrible position. It's definitely not favorable, but it's not ideal.
It's an interesting situation where if Gemma survives this turn with the Dhelmise, which she does.
Ooh, yeah, she does.
Now they're in an eternal Phantom Force loop if the Hypnosis had not gone off.
Where I would have loved nothing more than just seeing Phantom Force after Phantom Force go off.
Continuously missing each other because they're in the... As Milotic is the only one this turn that can do anything.
Yeah.
But it seems as though this game is over.
Yeah, you can't wake up this turn. Even if you could, you can't protect from a Phantom Force, so I think that's going to be another GG.
Yeah.
Really solid. Sorry, Chase. Yeah, you say what you were going to say.
I was going to say, Gemma played this game really well with the Trick Room aspect, as well as game 2.
Yeah, I think it was good realizing that that JD didn't have an abundance of answers for Trick Room and taking advantage of that. Well, that being said, I think that JD did a really great job in Game 3 adjusting it. I think that if he got a couple of things better to go his way, that he could have really pulled that off.
Yeah. He got unlucky with the leads,